Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dreams Unlimited Travel Podcast. My name is John Major, and I'll be your host. And in this episode, we're going to be doing another question and answer show, but this time just around Disneyland and the questions associated with booking a Disneyland vacation. I'm joined at the table by our panel of experts, Client Services Manager for Dreams Unlimited Travel, Kevin Close.
Hi, everyone.
Agent and Disneyland Specialist, Deborah Lopez.
Hello.
Back in the production facility, we have our producer, Craig Williams.
Hello.
Again, welcome everybody. Thank you guys for being here. We like to do these question and answer shows periodically. Not only great questions do we get from our viewers and listeners, they come in through Facebook and Twitter, or you can email me directly. They're great questions. We have fun answering them, but also they help us point us in the right direction of what folks might want to learn about, might want to have more information on. And we got a lot of questions about Disneyland come in, which is kind of what inspired us to do the series we just completed on traveling to Disneyland and booking a Disneyland vacation. So using those questions, we decided to do a 3-part series that we just finished, booking Disneyland vacations at the Disneyland Resort. And now we're going to go through our question and answers that folks have sent in. So let's get started with our first one. What are the best hotel choices at Disneyland for a more budget-conscious family that are either walking distance to Disneyland Resort or on the art lines? Deborah?
I think one of the best ones is the Howard Johnson. I've, priced several hotels along the harbor that are directly across the street, and the Howard Johnson always comes in at a good price for a family.
And how far is that from the Esplanade?
You can either do art or you can walk. It's about a block and a half away, maybe a block, less than a block, more than a block, but less than 2 blocks.
I also think it's important to point out that when we say walking distance, this is walking distance now to downtown Disney. So you still have to get through.
Well, it's actually walking distance to the entrance to the Esplanade.
Right. So you're going through the buses. Mm-hmm.
Say again?
The bus entrance. So
that's right.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. Uh-huh. The Disneyland Hotel
is at the other end.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got confused. So strike that, what I just said.
The Quality Inn's a good choice with the breakfast. Again, it doesn't offer transportation, but you can.
What's the one directly across from the Esplanade?
The Best Western Park Place.
And what in the we talked
It's got the mini suites, and it's also a good price, but it does sell out quickly. So people want to stay really close to the hotel, grab that one, and it's a favorite of some clients. They always want that hotel. Fairfield is close. The Fairfield is closer than the Anaheim or the Howard Johnson. It's also a good hotel.
One of the ones that's very popular, we always hear about, is Candy Cane.
Mm-hmm.
In one of our previous shows, you did a very interesting cost comparison, and Candy Cane actually comes out higher. Mm-hmm. Even though it's considered a value resort, it comes out a little bit higher than some of the
moderate
resort.
Yep.
It even comes out higher than some of these other resorts you're talking about.
Right.
So, depending on what your need is and what you're willing to spend on, maybe proximity is worth a few extra $100 to stay at Candy Cane. But
yeah, and even the Hilton isn't that far away. And even though it has the Hilton name, as long as there's not a convention currently in town, so like if it's in the middle of the week, I just randomly some days whenever I'm planning my fake vacations to California that never happen, I've seen the Hilton drop to. I've seen it drop to just a little bit over $100 a night. So sometimes you can get good deals even on the big name hotels.
The Sheraton is another one, and they often offer free nights. So, yeah.
I think there's lots of choices.
Superior ones. Yeah.
Certainly.
Right to Deborah. She'll help you.
Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of choices to choose from, especially for a budget-conscious hotel that's close enough that, you can either walk or take the art. All right, let's move on to our second question. What is the best time of year to visit the Disneyland Resort, school-age kids included, for best on-property hotel value?
I think for best on-property hotel value, probably during the winter right now, or spring is the best value, probably for the on-property hotels, and then in the fall.
And I think we're looking at sort of the same situation that we talk about with Walt Disney World resorts. Listen, when the kids are out of school, prices are always going to be higher.
Right.
So if they're school-aged kids, unless you're willing to take them out of school, you're not going to find, the cheapest rates. You're going to have to go at a time when it might not be convenient for them in school. But
One thing you have to remember too, when you go during those times, there's a lot of refurbishments going on too. So you need to, what are the things that you want to see? If you're going maybe to see Pirates and it's being refurbished in the fall, then, maybe that's not the best time to go. Most of the rides are open during the summer, but there's a lot of refurbishments and things going on. And they take down Haunted Mansion, for a while to get it prepared for the holidays. So that's down
That's
in
quite
October.
a long thing also, isn't it? That's several
Yeah.
weeks.
So I think you need to see, the refurbishments and what's going on in the park and the construction and those kinds of things too, to get your best value too.
right,
You
take all
wanna
those things
see-
into consideration
right,
because you might be great to go at a time when it's least expensive, but if a third of the rides you want to do are
Right.
down,
right.
it's not really worth
And
it.
if it's your first time, those are probably some pretty popular rides too.
Right.
So
Does Small World go down for a significant period
for the
of time?
holidays,
For the holiday
yes,
overlay.
it goes Christmas. It
But
gets
it
ready
usually
for
goes down
Christmas.
around the same time as Haunted Mansion.
Yes.
Right. And that's when they do their holiday overlays
Right.
for it. So coming back afterwards is always a great thing
Yeah.
to experience those rides, but you don't want to be there when they're down.
Right.
All right, our third question. There is no meal plan option at Disneyland. What's up with that?
Yeah, Deborah.
I think
Why'd you do that, Deborah?
Disneyland's considered, like you said, a locals amusement park. So a lot of people from the area visit Disneyland. They don't come, for a meal plan, or they're maybe leaving the park and going home to eat and coming back. They're maybe Southern California city, annual pass holders, or
We touched on this on another show that Disneyland is, you could leave the park and comfortably go somewhere else to eat. So you're not tied to a Disney resort or a Disney restaurant to find your food. So that's something that maybe they've decided is not worth the money. Disney is Disney, and who knows, maybe someday they might discover that it's in their best interest to offer a meal plan. Might keep people on property more.
we actually eat more in downtown Disney. We like,
Downtown Disney has some great restaurants.
yep,
My
and
favorite
it's so
restaurant.
easy to get to.
My favorite restaurant at Disneyland is in downtown. I love Catal.
Yep. They have Jazz Alley, and we eat at the little marketplace. It's right. I can't remember the name of it. La Brea.
I also think that with no Magic Band, with no My Disney Experience type of thing, it might be a little bit more difficult for them to track this. You mentioned in the past they used to offer some kind of voucher system
Right.
for meals. It feels to me like that would be the only option. When we went to Disneyland Paris, that's what they did. They gave you coupons and as you ate. And while we figured it out, it could be a little bit complicated figuring out what to use.
Especially if you have children and an extended group. I mean, we just had our own coupon booklet. But
Right. So maybe as Disneyland adds things like, technology to the app, maybe you'll see that in the future. But I think as long as it's a hard ticket thing, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
See, I enjoy the fact that they don't have a dining plan because it has just become such a routine at Disney World. Whenever you go and sit down at a restaurant and they say dining plan, yes or no, and then if you're on it, all of a sudden it goes into the routine. Here's your entrees that you can choose from.
Yeah.
You're not going to look at the appetizers. Just forget about those. You don't want to pay extra for them. And then you get a choice of one dessert. Whereas Disneyland, you can still go and sit down at a restaurant or even quick service and have kind of a more unique, more relaxed, paced out dining experience that I don't think happens anymore really at Walt Disney World. And I wouldn't want to see menus to suffer either because of it. Like I would
Quality of food.
Yeah.
People think quality of food has suffered because of the dining plan.
exactly like
At World.
it would be such a shame, even though Napa Rose would. I mean, in terms of Disney World credit, it would have to be at least a 2 credit, if not
absolutely.
3 credit, making up a new scale for it. But it would be a shame if that restaurant had to suffer with food quality because they had to just worry about, focusing on those 3 or 4 entrees that everyone wants and just push
Well,
those
there used
out.
to be whole threads on the Diz boards about how to maximize the food plan. You had to order this appetizer,
Steak.
and you had to order this
Right.
steak, and you had to get this dessert, and that's how you would get the most money for your food plan. So what they did was they took those things off the menu.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to change the 60-day window too. Yeah, if you had a food plan.
Oh, yeah.
Know that.
Right? We talked about on another show that you have 60 days out
Right.
as opposed to 180 to book your dining. And you're saying that there's also much more availability. That would change significantly
Yes,
under a
it
dining
would.
plan. Again, I think one of the things about Disneyland is they do recognize that they get a lot of locals. There's a lot of people who are invested in the history of that park. So they are less likely to make some of these changes like Fast Pass Plus and Magic Bands and things like that. They seem to be a little bit more willing to wait and see and develop the technology as it's appropriate. So hopefully that's the idea with the dining plan. So the question I have for this person is, do you want it? Do people want a Disneyland dining plan? You know? Maybe they do. All right, on to our next question. I have been on an Adventures by Disney Backstage Magic that includes Disneyland, but I've never been just to Disneyland. Will I be disappointed visiting Disneyland without the ABD pluses?
I would say no. Disney, an ABD trip offers you a different perspective. It's part of a storytelling adventure. Wandering around Disneyland on your own is pretty special unto itself. There's nothing to be disappointed in, I don't think.
Yeah, and ABD has great extras. There's no doubt about it. Being backdoored onto rides, seeing behind the scenes, that's all cool stuff. But you still want to experience the park. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, the Adventures by Disney doesn't leave you enough free time in the park. There's always that mad dash after a meal to quick get in and get a few extra hours in a theme park.
Correct.
I think you want to have the extra time to do it. You're at your own pace. And Disneyland is very doable.
And experience Disneyland as you would another theme park. I mean, you want to see it at your own pace as opposed to moving as a group.
You have to
Don't
have-
get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with the Backstage Magic. It offers you a perspective that you can't get elsewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the great aspect of the Backstage Magic is that you make that significant group of friends on there. And, a lot of times you don't always vacation with groups of people, so you never get to experience the parks like that. And so that's, on top of losing out on the guides and being able to rely on them to help with anything else, without doing it ABD style, you lose out on that group travel unless you plan it that way, which... that's one of the immediate things you hear after an ABD is everyone saying, well, when's the next time we can all get together and do something like that?
something.
And
I
that's
think
nice.
I think Adventures by Disney for the Backstage Magic, at least, is the thing you do after you've been to Disneyland. That's
The
my
next step kind of
right.
thing.
You go to Disneyland on your own. You spend some time on your own. You experience the park, and then the next thing you do is the Adventures by Disney Backstage Magic, because then at least you see the magic that goes into the park.
And you probably don't get the corn dog.
Why is
They're
that?
very famous for their corn dogs.
Oh, that's
Have you
right.
ever had the corn dog?
Oh, at least 3 or 4
At the little
every
red
trip.
wagon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever had a corn dog?
I never have. How did we not
You
know
have
about
to
the corn dog?
experience a corn
I have
dog
had a
there.
candy
They have
cane,
the
though.
best corn dogs.
We have had the Christmas candy cane.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty special too. All right, on to our next question. I'm a Walt Disney Resort veteran with so many trips I've lost count. I always thought about visiting Disneyland, but was worried that I would be disappointed because it's smaller than Walt Disney World. What can you say to convince me that a Disneyland trip will be good for me and my family?
I think that it's a different expectation when you go to Disneyland. It's, you're going and you're walking in Walt's shoes. It's the first park. It's the original, Magic Kingdom.
I was told you don't call it that.
I know, but I did. I did it because of that.
I think there's, it's similar, but it's different enough that it's not a carbon copy of Disney World. It's not like they took Disney World and put it on a smaller piece of property. There are things that are unique to Disneyland.
And also
Right.
remember, too, you're talking about the opposite series of events. Disneyland came first.
right.
So it's, it's not a copy of Walt Disney World. It's actually would be the opposite if it were true.
I kind of think I can, there's you can straddle the fence here. Walt Disney World is huge. There's so much to see and do, and that's a plus. But on the plus side, Disney World is intimate and doable, and I would say that the Disneyland park is more intimate than the Magic Kingdom in Disney World. And I think the fact that California Adventure is just the other side of the Esplanade. I like that word, can you tell? And Downtown Disney is part of that. It's a different experience altogether. So I don't know if that's convinced you and your family to go, but...
Well, and if you're talking about in terms of attractions, Disney World does have the advantage that it has 4 parks. But if you're looking at Disneyland Park versus Magic Kingdom, there is way more to do in Disneyland Park than in Magic Kingdom. Fantasyland area alone, you can't walk 2 feet without running into another attraction out in California in Disneyland Park, whereas ours is all very spread out, especially with the new Fantasyland upgrade. It's just become bigger areas, but not as much to actually do in there. So you have to take that into consideration. And it's just, even with like California Adventure, there's not a lot of attractions that are, worth going specifically there to do. However, that's kind of like their Epcot in that it's a great place you can just walk around and relax. So yeah, you don't have the countries, but you get that taste of California that you might not normally get the same way with Epcot, getting a taste of different countries that you don't usually get.
There's more Star Wars at Disneyland.
Well, now.
I am a fan of
Right now,
Until
yeah.
every park we have becomes Star Wars.
Yes.
I was just going to say, we're just going to name it all Star Wars. I'm a big fan of both. So it's not that I like, my home park is Walt Disney World. It's what I grew up with. So it's, that's what I think of first, but I love Disneyland too.
Yeah.
I've said this before many times. If you are a true Disney fan, if you are a fan of Disney parks in general, you have to visit Disneyland in California. Again, it's where it all started. It's Walt's original vision. You can do the fun thing where you compare and contrast. Wow, look at how different this is here. This is not in the same place it is as in World. This ride's different here. It's better here. It's not better there. But just in general, there's that whole feeling of, this is where it all began.
It's like a community kind of. You're just walking around, you're seeing the same people maybe 3 or 4 times,
The other thing, too, is cast members. We definitely find a different
Yes.
caliber of cast member at Disneyland than World. Not that World doesn't have some fantastic cast members with great training and a great love of Disney, but Disneyland seems to keep their cast members longer. You find a lot more people who've been there 20, 30 years, in frontline positions at land than you do at World. All right, so go. Just go and stop questioning me. On to our next slide, on to our next question. What are some of your favorite places to eat at Disneyland?
I talked about the corn dogs. We always get a corn dog when we're there. Port Orleans. I like Port Orleans.
Cafe Orleans.
Cafe Orleans, sorry.
That's what happens when you live with both of these
I
things
know.
in your head.
I know.
Kevin always messes up Grand Californian and Grand Floridian.
Always. As I said, I love Catal. I love the Mediterranean sort of flavors. I also like the uva bar outside, which is kind of part of Catal. I enjoy both. We have enjoyed, I don't know the name of it, it's the Trattoria in California
Yes,
Adventure.
the wine.
Wine Country.
Wine Country Safari is what I call
Yeah, I
it.
know.
Those are the ones.
That's
In the parks, we enjoy the Carnation
Cafe is nice.
Cafe. I mean,
Breakfast.
What I love about that place is that seems to be it's like fresh. Everything feels so fresh there.
Yeah.
There were places I didn't like. I never liked Billy Bob's Hoop-de-Doo Review or whatever it was called. Were
The
you in it?
barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never
I
liked
think
it.
they closed that.
I don't believe it was ever called Billy Bob's anything, but that's all right.
It was like the hee-haw
Yes,
barbecue, hee-haw hoedown, something like that. That was never my favorite thing, but I'm not a picnic table kind of guy.
We're talking about Blue Bayou. People love it. In my opinion, it seems a little overrated. It's not someplace I would go to just to go to eat, but some people love it.
We talked about Napa Rose. I just was shown the error of my ways. You don't have to go to Napa Rose and have the formal sit-down dinner. We ate in the lounge recently, and we had flatbreads
incredible
and
food.
appetizers.
Incredible
It was
food.
great. I found it a much more casual atmosphere than sitting at the table, so I really enjoyed that.
Craig?
Oh, the list starts. Yeah, Little Red Wagon first. I always have to have corn dogs.
Where is that?
It's right
at the
beside
end
Plaza.
right at the end
So-
of Main Street on your right.
Yeah,
Is
so
it a place you walk into, or is it a
No.
cart?
it's a cart. So if you're looking at Plaza, if you're looking at that grand entrance
must
to
have never been
Plaza,
there when we were
it's
there.
just off to the right. Speaking of Plaza, Plaza and fried chicken is, I mean, it's one of those
It's
things
got
you
good
have to
fried
try
chicken.
at least once. It's not the best fried chicken you'll ever have, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of Disneyland food items just have such a legacy and heritage to them.
There's a couple
some
things
things you
that-
need to try.
There's a couple things about the plaza. First of all, great character breakfast.
Yeah.
Really great character interaction. The breakfast itself is standard Disney fare, eggs and, bacon and, all sort of okay and hot, which is good. But the character direction is incredible. And the second thing is getting there and getting a seat before the fireworks.
Yep.
Yeah.
And eating outside.
We usually go get hot chocolate in there and then go sit out there.
Get one of
watch
those
the
outside
fireworks.
tables and watch the fireworks from
Yeah,
that location.
but the characters are. I recommend Minnie and Friends all of the time because the characters are such a variety of characters. So, yeah,
And I love getting mint juleps all the way back in New Orleans Square.
Miss
you know.
Juleps.
Yes, and the Mickey Mouse beignets that go along with it too. Just recently, this past trip, I finally tried the chimichangas and the corn that you can get at like every cart there, and that was absolutely fantastic. I now know why they're stocked all around the park. They're awful for you, and I'm sure most people just find them disgusting like turkey legs, but it's just
Is it their version of turkey leg, the type of thing where it's everywhere in the park? And
yeah, they have the carts that sell it. They have turkey legs, chimichangas, and the corn, and that's what they have at those carts.
Wow.
And so it's kind of their thing. And like getting a churro right in front of the
churros
castle,
are
that's
awesome.
something you
Yeah.
have to do. And then going into California Adventure, I've had hit or miss meals at Carthay Circle, but the lounge always has some really unique appetizers, really good drinks in there.
Carthay Circle has that pork chop.
Yeah.
That pork
Dinner.
chop's delicious.
Oh my God, it's one of my favorite things ever is getting that pork chop. One of the things I like about the lounge is they have signature drinks, which they do the ice ball, which is cool. And for the diamond celebration, they're doing the ice diamond.
Yeah.
So
And then you have to hit Steakhouse 55 if you're a meat eater. Just whatever kind of steak you get, just make sure you ask to get it with the Steakhouse 55 rub that typically only comes on the ribeye.
that's when they
but-
massage you while you eat.
Exactly, yes.
That part.
But that's my short list of food.
I think that Pete mentioned it on a different show. Can't remember when it was now. That he found that the fast food is getting better, and also better than Walt Disney World. We found that to be true. The sort of quick serve meals were good.
I thought of something else we eat every time we're in Disneyland.
that?
A Wetzel's pretzel.
Yeah, Wetzel's pretzels from the cart,
And we get the hot
Yeah.
dog with the pretzel wrapped around it.
yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff. Good
I
stuff.
know Pete's obsessed right now with Jolly Holiday Bakery, right in Disneyland, right across the street from Plaza, and specifically the grilled cheese and tomato soup combo they do there, as well as the Matterhorn macaroon that everyone seems to love. So it's really hard to not find good places to eat. There's just a couple missed places. Like don't go to Tomorrowland and get the pizza that they
Right.
have there. Stay away from that.
I would tell you not to fight for a reservation at Blue Bayou.
Yeah. I would say the biggest piece of advice is if you see a hamburger, just actually stay away from it because it's really hard to not find something unique and delicious at Disneyland.
Excellent. Good advice, everybody. All right, let's move on to our next question. Do you think Disneyland will ever get Magic Bands or My Magic Plus?
I hope not.
I believe a lot of locals hope not as well. I think magic bands are inevitable.
You think so?
I do. I think just because it's saving printing ticket media
Yeah.
and purchasing all those things, and it also helps with tracking attendance and
I
all
think
of that
putting
stuff.
your hotel room key and your ticket on the same thing. Yeah, I can see those coming.
Right.
And I don't think anyone would complain if magic bands were done in. The big part that everyone hates about My Magic Plus is the Fast Pass Plus and having to plan your Fast Passes so far ahead. At the same time, a lot of people love it, and they love that planning. If Disneyland just integrated where you could wear the Magic Band and still go up to a kiosk, put your Magic Band on there, get your return time,
Right.
I don't think anyone would complain about that.
I think it would just be used for the resort hotels, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. It would
Not
be-
any of the good neighbors.
No,
or-
they couldn't, because then they would have
Yeah.
all the good neighbors would have to retrofit all their rooms.
Right.
I also think
Disney would never do
because so much of the business is at the good neighbor hotels, that this doesn't seem like it's worth it. I mean, with 20 hotels, what is it, 24
and all
hotels
the locals. Mhm.
now on Disney property? I'm making up numbers again.
I know.
It's a lot. There's a lot of hotels at Disney
24
World.
feet in the Esplanade.
No, that's 300 feet. Don't write to me.
Yeah, I think the answer is we don't know for sure, and there are people who would hate to see it happen, but you never know at Disney.
I
They'll-
would like to see though their My Magic, where you go online and you do all your dining and everything. The Alani one doesn't work very well either. So it'd be nice to have them sort of all where they can go in with one, password and be able to choose.
We had this conversation on a different show with Tracy, in that you would be surprised how, while we all think of Disney as Disney, they are separate companies.
Yes,
they don't
are.
talk to each
Their
other.
IT folks are
Completely different. Nobody knows what anybody else's systems
Yep.
do or how they work.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it would be great if someone thought of it and sat down and said, "Listen, let's make one big integrated system."
Yeah.
But
because a lot of the clients from Walt Disney World want to link their Disneyland to their My Magic Plus, and it doesn't do it.
all right, moving on to our next question. I have a chance to spend a day at Disneyland as part of a convention I'm attending this summer, but will only have one free day. If you had only one free day at Disneyland, what would you do to get the most out of it? Also, taking into account for the fact that it's during the summer, so crowds are going to be high. That's kind of a rough thing to do.
Are we talking Disneyland or either park?
Well, I think, what would your advice be to this person? First of all, just at one park in one day. You can't park hop, I don't think.
You probably could.
Could you?
You probably could park hop in one day. I think it would depend on if you've been there before. If you've never been to Disneyland, I would suggest you go to Disneyland. Or if you've been to Walt Disney World and Disneyland, I would go to Grand California Adventure, because that's all new.
She does.
It's not just me.
No, she says Grand California Adventure.
What did I say?
Grand California
All right,
Adventure.
I was looking at you.
And I call it the Grand Floridian. I would decide whether you wanted to see Pirates, the Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain, or if you were interested in Radiator Springs
Right.
kind of thing, if you're interested in Cars Land. If you're a Disney World veteran, I would suggest going to California Adventure because it's so different.
Right.
It is so different. The chance to see Cars Land is pretty cool. If you're not a Walt Disney World veteran, I would tell you to go to Disneyland
I would too.
and wander around and
Yeah.
see the classic things.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends too. Are you an adrenaline junkie? Is this the type of thing where you're
Right.
going to run to ride? Well, then you know what? Get a hopper. Get your fast passes, as many as you
Do
can.
those things that you want
Right,
to.
go to those
Yeah.
rides. Or are you just looking to experience the park? I mean, I'm the type of person who I would just like to walk around and see it. And
I would tell you
experience
no matter what you do to see the Paint the Night parade.
it. Yeah, pretty spectacular.
Might be the best one I've ever seen.
Stay for fireworks.
Or,
Paint
or
the
the
night.
World of Color, if you've never seen that.
Oh, no, now you confused it.
Really?
I know, I'm sorry. But I don't like this new World of Color. I like,
That's exactly. If you only had a choice right now while the 60th stuff's going on, go with
it would be the Paint the Night.
go with Paint the Night and Disneyland Forever
Paint the
instead of
Night
World
was
of Color.
hypnotizing.
Yes.
I can't
Yeah.
explain it. I felt like I had been flukemized. It was just like,
Again, in my opinion, Disney magic at its best. upped the game,
Right.
used technology I've never seen before, told a great story.
Yeah.
You know, all those wonderful
Yeah, I
things.
thought it was great.
So yeah, I think Paint the Night and then Magic Kingdom fireworks, Disney Park fireworks, for sure. You agree?
Consensus.
I vote yes.
All right, great. And we'll do our last question. Our last question of the day is, I know that Walt Disney World and Disneyland have many of the same attractions, but are different in each park. Can you compare these attractions park to park and tell me which one is better or which one does it better? Haunted Mansion. Haunted Mansion has a very different outside look in both parks. Inside's a little bit different as far as ride through goes. I'm a Walt Disney World fan. I think our Haunted Mansion's better, except at Christmas where they do the Christmas overlay. My opinion. You guys?
I think the differences are minor. So I don't see that there's one better than the other.
Yeah, the big difference is two aspects of it besides the outside is you walk in and you still go into the stretching rooms, but the first more impressive thing is that because you're actually going down to get under the railroad tracks, the elevator in the stretching room takes you very, very far down. It's much more grand than ours where the ceiling just raises up a little bit to do the effect. And then instead of like riding past some of the portraits that change with the flash of lightning, in Disneyland, you actually walk past it, and
They change
it's
when you move.
yeah, it's to add in. Originally, it was supposed to be completely walk through, so they kind of kept that element in where there is a little bit of walking before you board your Doom buggy. However, Disney World wins because we have the MC Escher stair room that's extremely crazy and one of the coolest additions whenever the last time they did our Haunted Mansion. So while it has the history, our mansion's better.
Do you actually want to know a piece of trivia?
Yeah.
They were built at the exact same time. They were both built in 1969. The Haunted Mansion was the first attraction built in Disney World. And it was because they were creating the ride vehicles and the set pieces and stuff, that they were both built at the same time.
They said to save money, let's build the same thing in two parks and just wait for that park to open.
So we talk about it having history. The history's the same age.
One of the things I don't like about their Haunted Mansion, I find their loading zone harder. You don't seem to have enough ramp up time because you kind of do a switchback right before you get to it, and then the walking sidewalk is there. I find it a little bit harder to sort of get on that ride.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay, let's go to the next
Dead
one.
horse, get off it.
Oh, man. You have no Disney spirit. Small World, Kevin's favorite.
I like the outside of Small World better in California. I like the inside of Small World better in Florida.
Okay.
And in California, they also do a holiday overlay,
Yeah, they
Christmas around the world. I
Yes.
like that better in California. Florida is more fully realized with less cardboard cutouts than California has. I believe Florida has more rooms and more children. But at Christmas time, California wins, and they win outside. And California, you load outside. The boat,
Which is
the,
really
the
cool.
loading area
do.
is outdoors. In Disney World, it's indoors.
Excellent. What do you guys think
I
about Small
wrote it
World?
just recently when I was there. I didn't think it'd ever end. I didn't remember it being that long.
The older you get, the longer that ride seems,
Yes.
doesn't it?
And the younger you are, you think,
It's the best
it's
thing ever.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Disneyland's better between the outside and then even going through their rooms, regardless of the Disney characters that they added in
That's
during the
blasphemy.
last one.
It's
I
just
don't like
blasphemy.
Give or take that, but I see the opposite of Kevin. I feel like Disney World feels smushed into a small space just because they wanted it, where Disneyland still feels big and broad. But I guess it's a matter of opinion.
It's true.
Sounds right.
All right, Pirates of the Caribbean. Most significant difference between the two is that their Pirates, Disneyland's, starts out in the Blue Bayou restaurant. So they've kind of started with more of a Bayou theme that then morphs into the pirate theme, where ours is just pirates all the way from coming and going. As far as that, I don't see a big difference between the two rides.
Oh, it's huge.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, with the Blue Bayou, first you start off there, and then you go down the waterfall, and that's
You
how
do
you
go
end
underneath.
up into, the caves. And so that's the first big difference. That there's all the caves that you go past where the gold's all piled up, skeletons. There's the skeleton on a bed.
See, I
that's
see it very
a real
similar to
skull.
ours. I don't see a big difference. I mean, we go down the waterfall, blah blah blah, the skeletons there and things walking, blah blah blah.
We have about 3 or 4 less scenes. It's much longer. And then again, our Pirates of the Caribbean wasn't supposed to be there. We were supposed to get an expansive Thunder Mesa in Frontierland with Big Thunder Mountain, as well as a Frontier-themed boat ride. So they never planned on putting Pirates in at Walt Disney World. Then they decided to add it because of how popular it was. So ours is a much more condensed version that's not as big and broad. And, like at ours, the only reason we have the drop-in is because it was in Disneyland, whereas Disneyland's like
Serves
Haunted
a
Mansion,
purpose, yep.
it has to go under the railroad tracks. So it's a more fleshed out ride.
I think though some of the things that you talk about the stretching room and you talk about the drop, those are cool from an engineering perspective.
Yeah.
These are problems that they had to solve, but from the writer standpoint, I don't think anybody knows that unless you're told it.
No.
Nobody notices.
It's a nerd thing.
Yeah, but
I actually think we do have an elevator that lifts you up to get you over the berm, because that's why you have to the car turns around and has to go back down, because you're going back down to floor level. You actually go up a level in our Haunted Mansion.
our stretching room does not move. Our stretching room, just the portraits go up.
I'm not sure I agree, but
All
I
right.
could be wrong.
All right, there you go. All right, moving on to the monorail. We talked about this on another show. The monorail at Disneyland is more of an attraction, where ours is more transportation, much more expansive. It goes between hotels and Epcot and there. Their Disneyland, though, their monorail seems to me, it's more like fun. It's like, ooh, fun, it's a ride, wee.
Let's
Where
ride
this,
over to Disneyland. Yeah.
right? So this one seems a
Yeah.
little bit more, ours seems a little more utilitarian. Anything else about that?
It seems a lot smaller. You
Yeah.
just get on it down, and everything's so close anyway. You're at downtown Disney, you grab it, and you get dropped off at Tomorrowland, and it's nice because if you're over on that side of the area and you're done, you can grab the monorail and go back to downtown Disney or the hotel.
Saves you that
and-
walk out of the park.
Yes.
And, from one side to the other. Craig, any feeling on the monorail?
I guess Disneyland wins for me too, just because it doesn't smell like pee all the time like Walt Disney World's does.
We like to say Band-Aids.
How,
I will say this,
Band-Aids.
just to give them credit, there's been a refurb and all new carpeting, and they've actually smelled really good.
they smell much better. I guess actually at the same time too, because ours is just transportation and not an attraction. If you can technically go and ride the monorail for free anytime, even if it's on your last day, you're still on property and you don't have a park ticket, you can just go and ride it around. So it's nice to have that.
Our monorail also helps if you want to do resort hopping. Christmas time, you want to see the decorations. It helps with that.
And the windows
expanding
open. Maybe that's why it doesn't smell as bad.
Disneyland's windows open. Moving on, Tower of Terror in both parks.
Okay, I was wrong. I hate being wrong.
You had to figure it out and got to prove it
I had to find someone else to corroborate your story.
about the stretching room.
Fine.
There's not a lot I know for sure. That I knew for sure. Tower of Terror. First of all, is location. In my opinion, in Disneyland, it's awkwardly placed.
Yeah.
It's sort of out of place where it is, but it is what it is. They wanted
It's
to
over
include
at
that.
California Adventure.
Yep.
I think that as far as the one in California, it drops it just clicks into place. You kind of move just a little bit, and it clicks into place, and you're dropping. It's not like you're moving out and moving into a location. And
Like Worlds feels more like you're moving
Yes.
forward, and you
yes,
sort
so you're just sitting there anticipating this drop much more quickly, I think. And yeah, I really like the one at Disneyland much better.
That's a tough one. It's kind of like Space Mountain, whereas I see them, the general concept's the same. It's has the same storyline. It's just two very different rides, especially at Disneyland from the start of it. Where ours, you get in and you go straight up right away. Disneyland's already starts off a little differently. So I still prefer ours just because it does fit the general theming of actually being in a Hollywood. Not that at California Adventure, it's not in a Hollywood section. It just doesn't have that same old time feeling going all the way through the street. Ours feels more in place.
By the time this airs, I'm sure there'll be much more discussion about it. But did you hear about them changing the theming?
The galaxy of
The Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Because apparently they're losing the rights to Twilight Zone or something like that. Let's just do Soarin'. We'll finish up the comparison here with Soarin'. Same basic ride here and there. I think ours is a lot more of a walk, though, to the actual ride. I find that the one in Epcot, it feels like you walk forever before you get the actual ride mechanism.
And that's because nerdy fact.
It's at the beach club.
That's a beach club. Oh, actually, so Food Rocks used to be a part of Land, and that all changed. However, the Food Rocks building is still there, and it's in between. That's why we have to have that super long walk to get through there, because they didn't demolish that building in case they ever needed it for anything. It's not really fair. As the time we're recording this, Soarin' Around the World hasn't debuted for us yet. So that could change. It could be better, but I don't know, something about Soaring Over California, they hit every note right with the music, the locations they chose, the smells. It all fits together perfectly. I don't know how Soaring Around the World is going to really be able to match up whenever they nailed it so right the first time.
I'll have to say, for sure.
When is that, June 17th?
June 17th.
There's quite a few. We could go through quite a bit and do comparison and compare and contract. I think the best part is that we have an option. You have two different parks, two different locations to visit. I think it's great. Can't hurt to have the options. All right, so that'll do it for our question and answer show about Disneyland. Hope you guys got something out of it. We're going to end our show with our agent spotlight. As we do each week, we like to highlight someone from our team and tell you a little bit about them. Maybe they can't come to the studio, or maybe you won't get a chance to interact with them. This week, we're going to be talking about Jennifer Winthrop. Jennifer joined Dreams Unlimited Travel about a year ago as part of the Disney Cruise Line gift bag team. She also helps greet guests and clients that come into the Welcome Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Originally from Long Island, New York, Jennifer and her family moved to Central Florida on the east coast of Orlando in 2007. Growing up, her father owned and operated a chain of travel agencies for over 30 years. This gave her the amazing opportunity to travel the world. She's been on over 40 cruises, visited many countries, and sailed to many islands all over the world. Jen and her husband Artie were fortunate enough to honeymoon on a 10-night Mediterranean Greek Isles cruise in 1995. Her knowledge of travel is a plus when visitors and clients stop by the Welcome Center. This is part of her job she enjoys the most. Jen and her family of 5 all have a passion for Walt Disney World. As annual pass holders, they spend as much time as possible in the parks as their busy schedules allow. Jen's big tip for visiting Walt Disney World is FastPass is your best friend with the addition of the My Disney experience app. Her family time at Walt Disney World is much more magical. So here you have someone who's a local who has a different opinion than we do. She thinks it's great. She thinks it really adds to her experience and her family's use of time at Walt Disney World. So there you go. Everyone has their own opinion on everything. All right, that'll do it for our show. Thank you guys for being here and for participating. Thank you, everybody at home, for listening and watching. We hope you have a great week, and we hope you have a great vacation.